Hello, and welcome to Rincon's Livestream. My name is Gary Harvey, and I'm the Managing Director of Rincon Resources. I'm going to give you a short presentation now about the Rincon opportunity, focusing on unearthing the future of precious and battery metals. We're then going to have a short session, question and answers. I'd like you to text any questions you may have to the number on your screen. We'll then wrap up the presentation following that. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to sharing with you some of Rincon's exciting new developments. Okay, so Rincon has three key projects, all located in the state of Western Australia. Our first project, South Telfer, is located in the Paterson province in the Pilbara region of WA. We have a 540 square kilometres of highly prospective and underexplored tenure. Paterson region, as some of you may know, is home to some monster copper gold deposits, and it's a highly sought after region for those looking to unearth the next big copper gold discovery, and we're well placed in the Paterson region. Kiwirrkurra, our second project, is an IACG copper gold and a rare earth opportunity. It's located in the West Laverton region of WA, and it's highly prospective for IACG style copper gold and carbonatite hosted niobium rare earth mineralisation. Recent niobium rare earth discoveries by WA1 have put a spotlight on the region. Again, we're well located. Our Laverton project is in the heart of the WA goldfields, located around the town centre of Laverton, in the heart of a Tier 1 gold mining district. We're slowly building our portfolio of tenements in this region, and we're targeting gold and rare earth elements. This is an overview map of our South Telfer project. South Telfer is our flagship project. It's right next door to Newcrest's massive Telfer gold mine. This is a mine that's historically produced over 32 million ounces of gold and 2 million tonnes of copper. It's big. And for those of you who have been following the news, you'll be aware that Newcrest is subject to an almost $30 billion takeover by another mining giant, Newmont Mining. Other multi-million ounce deposits also sit within the region. Most recent discoveries are by the Newcrest and Greatland Gold joint venture. This is the Havron deposit, and also by Rio Tinto, the Winu copper deposit. Our prospects are really well located, and most of our targets lie within 35 kilometres of the Telfer mill. We have a pipeline of targets and over 65 kilometres of combined strike of two highly prospective mineralised copper gold trends. And I'll work through these targets now. As you can see on this map, the Mammoth target is our priority target for this year. This is a schematic view. Sorry, talking to the wrong slide, I apologise for that. This map shows a pipeline of our drill targets and the two copper gold trends, Telfer Western and the Hastings Grace trend. The pink dots you can see in this map are all our current drill targets. We're steadily progressing the advancement and exploration of these targets, and you'll see more about this throughout the year. Our highest priority targets are Mammoth, Recurve, and the Hastings prospect area. We're planning to drill test at Mammoth and Recurve this year, and we'll be starting a heritage survey at Mammoth in a matter of weeks, which will clear the pathway for that drilling program. At Hastings, we're currently planning our next steps to test a series of targets within that broader Hastings prospect area. Hastings is a significant outcropping copper gold system, just 12 kilometres from the Telfer mill. Okay, this is Mammoth. This is a schematic view of the mammoth target. This was recently modelled through a series of geophysical interpretations, and we announced this a few months ago. It's a large target, and what we know about the target is that it's modelled on an intrusive mafic body. This is really important. A lot of deposits in the region are focused around intrusive bodies. There is excellent potential at Mammoth for a significant stockwork and breccia-style copper-gold system to be associated with that intrusion. And I think the most important thing here is that it's shallow. The top of the modelled intrusion is only 85 metres below surface. Next slide, please. This is our second target, recurve. This again was modelled from the recent geophysical interpretations that we've done over the past 6 months. This is a schematic section of recurve. What it shows is a line of VTEM geophysics. Now, this tells us the model depth of oxidation, but it also highlights a deep channel of weathering, which we think is associated with a shear zone wrapped around a potential intrusive body, which was modelled from gravity. Recurve, drilling at recurve is likely to start later on in the year, following heritage survey work, which is being planned at the moment. We interpret this deep weathering as a result of potentially oxidised sulphide mineralisation related to copper gold mineralisation. What we'd like to do is test at the base of that weathering into the fresh rock, and again test for that copper gold mineralisation system, potentially at a deeper level associated with this intrusion. Hasties. This has been our priority target since we floated. We tested drilling at Hasties. We did some drilling at Hasties in late 2021, and we got some excellent results. We since did a diamond hole, which intersected a lot of really good alteration. However, it didn't deliver on gold mineralisation or copper mineralisation to the level that we expected. So we've gone back to the drawing board, and we're doing some studies on that entire area to understand what this means. And the result of these studies will help us underpin our future work at Hasties. The Hasties prospect area is quite large. It actually includes 4 zones. There's the Hasties main zone, which on that map you can see is the top right hand side, and there's the Hasties southeast zone, which is on the left side. Together, that's the Hasties main mineralised system, which is outcropping at surface and related to a series of stacked reefs and stockwork systems overlying an intrusive dolerite unit. Also, the Hasties prospect area includes Frenchman's and Kiwirrkurra Hill, which both lie north and northwest of the Hasties main system. And these are more copper dominant zones, but we believe they're overall part of the same enlarged mineralised system. We have significant outcropping copper gold mineralisation at Hasties main zone, and together with the Hasties southeast, this system spreads across 1.4 kilometres in length. That's significant. The geology and style of mineralisation we're seeing at Hasties is analogous to Telfer. Just showing you some photos here of some copper gossan mineralisation that we've experienced throughout the project area. These particular samples have been taken from Kiwirrkurra Hill. And what you can see here is the green copper oxide mineralisation called malachite. Seeing samples like this in the field is quite rare, and it's, however, very encouraging. Okay, move on to our second project. This is the Kiwirrkurra project. Kiwirrkurra is an incredibly exciting project with the known IOCG copper-gold system present at Pekali. This map shows our tenements outlined in red. At the top of the image is the location of the recent niobium rare earth discoveries by WA1. It might be a little bit hard to see, but if you have a big enough screen, you can see at the top left side WA1's niobium discoveries. These discoveries actually lie on the same geological sequence folded around Lake Mackay, and we understand that we have similar type of geology and structures lying within our tenements. So this forced us a few months back to acknowledge the presence of rare earths and start to look for those opportunities within our package. Hence, Kiwirrkurra is now an AOCG and a rare earth opportunity for Rincon. We hold over 60 kilometres of highly prospective strike. Now, our tenements lie adjacent to a major regional structural zone called the Central Australian Suture. These types of structures are really important for IOCG type deposits. Our work so far, we've identified a pipeline of IOCG and carbonatite style niobium rare earth targets, and we're going to systematically progress these targets and test them throughout the next year. Pekali is our current focus, and we've completed all land access, permitting and drilling approvals to get on the ground now and commence drilling. Aiming to commence drilling at Pekali later this year, and that'll be done initially with 2 diamond holes, which are co-funded by the WA government, up to $150,000. We're quite fortunate at Kiwirrkurra to have Pekali as an outcropping system, which presents the opportunity to actually see visible structures and mineralisation at the surface. And I'll dive into Pekali now. This is an aerial shot of Pekali. And what you're seeing here is following some recent site reconnaissance and rock chip sampling. We've analysed the geochemistry, and what we've seen is 2 discrete metal zonations. One is a copper gold dominant system, which lies to the east side of Pekali. You can see there, circled in red, and the green circle represents a tin tungsten dominant system. Now this tells us there's been 2 separate pulses of fluids, creating 2 styles of mineralisation. So there's evidence of complexity and potential multiple plumbing sources. And all that points to is effectively what we consider as a massive mineral system at Pekali. If you're watching on the screen, you might be able to see some of the rock chip samples that we took recently on the left-hand side. But if you'd like to know more about this, you can check that on our website. Over a week ago, myself and a consultant completed detailed mapping and some further rock chip sampling. The results of that will be known soon, and the information we gain from that data will be used to constrain our drilling targets below Pekali Hill ahead of any drilling that we've got planned later in the year. This is a slightly broader map. It's an overview of our key tenement, which hosts Pekali in the top left corner, but also shows you the spread of targets that we've identified throughout that particular tenement. The blue outline represents magnetic anomaly highs, and the green outlines represent gravity anomaly highs. The tenement outline itself is overlying a gravity anomaly image. Also on there is a suite of interpreted structures. We can see here, actually the targets that we've identified for further work are defined by the coincidence of both gravity and magnetic anomalies. And those anomalies or those zones of coincidence are marked by the little white dot with a cross in it. What we can see here, which is really important, is the comparison between the Picali geophysical signature, which is the combination of that magnetic and gravity, compared to the size of the BHP Olympic Dam geophysical signature, which you can see in the legend box there. They are like for like scale, and you can see Picali is actually looks to be bigger than Olympic Dam. So I think that also tells us something about the potential of Picali. We're incredibly excited about this project. We think there's a fantastic opportunity here, and the evidence is mounting, pointing us in the right direction. Our last project is our Laverton project. Laverton is an exceptional opportunity for the company. It's smack bang in the middle of some of the world's most profitable gold mines, the likes of Sunrise Dam, Granny Smith, and it's also located around one of the world's highest grade rare earth mines. That's Mount Weld, owned by Lynas. Our tenements are highlighted here in blue and red. Red tenements are granted, the blue tenements are all recent tenement applications. What we have here is over 120 kilometres of acreage overlying favourable geology and structures for both gold and rare earth mineralisation. We're also surrounded by world-class mining infrastructure, multiple milling facilities available, all within a short haulage distance. We've recently developed a two-pronged strategy for Laverton that obviously is both gold and rare earths. And once our tenements are granted, we'll be commencing that hunt for rare earth mineralisation. The second map here shows the core of our tenements prior to the recent tenement applications. What you can see here is a suite of highlighted structures. These structures are known to host gold mineralisation, and these are the focus of our exploration efforts at Laverton for gold. Also, what you can see here is the proximity of our ground to known gold mines in the area. So we're in the right neighbourhood, and we think the potential is really high. Following our recent acquisitions and new applications, we're currently undertaking a new extensive target generation process using seismic, further geophysics, recollating all the historical open file geochemical and drilling data, and we're combining all this to identify new drill targets, both rare earths and for gold, and the result of that work will underpin our strategy moving forward for Laverton. So just before we finish, there's a few key points worth understanding about Rincon. We have no debt. We're a tightly held stock. Our top 20 shareholders own about 2/3 of the company. We've got about $1 million in the bank, and we're sitting on a pretty extraordinary opportunity. So with that, I'd now like to cross to any questions some of you may have. Okay, first question. How do our deposits compare to Newcrest's? Look, firstly, we don't have any current defined deposits in accordance with JORC reporting code. So there's no direct comparison that I can provide you with terms to hard numbers. What I can say is the closest we've got to a resource is the Hastings deposit. And what I can say there is from the results of our drilling programs back in 2021 is that if we report the grades of gold in particular above 1 gram per tonne, those gold grades roughly average about 1.85 grams per tonne gold, and that is highly comparable to any and most known resources in the Paterson region. So we're very comfortable with that, and we know that that tells us that we're in the right system. Other targets that we have in the region, although we're not really comparing numbers of resources, what I can say is the likes of Mammoth and Recurve, the model geophysical targets are both over 1.7 kilometres long, and they obviously stretch down about a kilometre in depth. So if we compare those model targets, the spatial footprint to what we've seen for some of the other deposits in the region, they're also comparable. So that encourages about what potential there may be at those targets. Any other questions? How rare is niobium? And if it's present at Kiwirrkurra, do you expect this to reshape the company's focus? Look, niobium is rare. It generally only exists as a co-product or a byproduct. And obviously for that reason, it's and its necessity in future tech, it's on the Australian critical list. So in terms of its rarity, I can say it's reasonably rare. Now at Kiwirrkurra, we do know there's the existence of niobium and rare earths in our system, and we expect that. Generally, those minerals are associated with our IOCG style deposits. We've tested for that, and but the niobium rare earth mineralisation at Pukali is obviously not in any abundance that makes that's economic. But we're obviously going to keep looking for niobium and rare earths throughout our project area. We have some really good targets, similar to the targets that WA1 targeted for IOCG, and they resulted in discovering niobium rare earths. So we think we've got that same opportunity. If we do discover niobium rare earths within our package, then yeah, look, we'll be forced to rethink the opportunity and how that might play out moving forward. Yeah, look, I think the copper price is going to keep climbing. Now, I'm not an expert economist or anything like that, but certainly with the battery metal push, push for the greener future, greener electricity, copper's a super important role in that change. And what I can see is that the demand is going to keep going up and outstrip supply. So by all accounts, that is going to put real pressure on the price. So I think the long-term price outlook is going to be positive. Are you open to wholesale placements? Do you plan an SPP or otherwise? Look, we're obviously going to be moving into a phase where we're going to start drilling and testing our targets, and certainly we're going to need additional funding to complete those drill programs as planned. If we commit to those, well, we will commit to those, subject to funding. So I think, look, we're open to all options with regards to how that may happen and how we fund that moving forward. Okay, I'll wrap that up now, and thank you for your time, and keep an eye on our stock. I think we're a great story. Thank you.